After much delay, with a lot going on in this past month, I finally have my list of the top 10 films of 2012. 2012, really good year for movies. As always, there are some runner-ups to the list, so here are the runner-ups. Lincoln, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, Les Miserables, Zero Dark 30, The Expendables 2, Robot and Frank, and this last one is pretty much the 11th place to the list, Bernie. Hurts to leave Bernie off the list, but let's move right ahead to the top 10 films of the year. Number 10 on the list is Anna Karenina, or Karenina. I'm big about Joe Wright, and Joe Wright got it right again with this film based on a play. It's a nice portrayal of romance, betrayal, love, deceit, sex, and it all centers around the time period that it's based on. It has Jude Law, and it also has Keira Knightley starring in the film. It seems like Keira Knightley always does period pieces. Yes, I've hardly seen any films of hers that are not period pieces, but nothing wrong with that because she's really good at it. And she's very good in this film. Number 9 is Skyfall. First off, the Bond girls in this movie, boy, they're not like the Bond girls in the previous films. And that's all I got to say about the Bond girls. Now, Daniel Craig as James Bond, he's got this great approach to the role. The action is great. The story is pretty complex. And the thing with this movie is that when I first saw it in theaters, I thought, pretty good Bond movie. But, in the few days passing after I had seen the movie, that's when it was really clicking with me. Like, whoa, this was awesome. Number 8, Django Unchained. A very similar style to Inglourious Basterds. Nothing wrong with that. This Tarantino movie has the spaghetti western style going on to it. It also has some dark images to look at. Yeah, there are some scenes that are tough to sit through with that. It's going to make you uncomfortable. And those dark images only add to the suspense and the energy that the action scenes provide once all the shooting breaks out, and the fighting and the violence. You get a real good sense of rooting for the main character in this, Django, played by Jamie Foxx. And he's on his mission to rescue his wife. And, when you see, the dark scenes that prepare you for the big revenge and action scenes that are following up, you get the sense of his passion for his wife that he's out to rescue. And that's something you should feel with any movie that you see involving someone rescuing his or her lover. As for the acting, Leonardo DiCaprio hogs up every scene that he gets. It's nice to see how well he's progressed in his career. I have friends who still hate him, ever since the 90s. Number 7, Argo. Ben Affleck directed it. Ben Affleck starred in it. And it's a film based on the true story of Mr. Tony Mendez working to get hiding American diplomats out of Iran in the 70s to help in freeing hostages. The entertainment value is high, giving a great sense of humor and charisma as it gives the sense of suspense and drama in this serious part of American history. And, John Goodman always gives such peculiar performances, from 1990 with Arachnophobia to last year with Red State and The Artist, and this year with Flight and Argo. I don't think John Goodman gets enough credit for everything he does. Number 6 on the list is Killer Joe. 39 years after directing The Exorcist, William Friedkin shows that he still has the energy and talent to make a wild, violent, and highly enjoyable film. It takes place in Texas and kind of pokes fun at the stereotypes. And Thomas Hayden Church and Emile Hirsch play father and son respectively. In this movie they seem more like brothers to me, but that may be just how we're meant to see families in Texas, according to this movie. And moving along, it also has Gina Gershon and Juno Temple, and they're great in it. But the star of the film is Matthew McConaughey as Killer Joe. And in this scary, funny, Wild movie. McConaughey gives quite the performance in what appears to be a breakout year for him with Magic Mike, Bernie, and now Killer Joe. You know, I heard he's getting a lot more big roles for next year, and I'm excited to see more from him because Killer Joe, you know, showed a lot of what we haven't seen in Matthew McConaughey. Number 5, Wreck-It Ralph. We've seen many movies based on video games that were unsuccessful. This movie is about video games, but it's not based on one. Instead, it has this clever story about the characters within the game and their way of living day to day. 3 main games in this film were created specific for the film. When the arcade is open, all the characters get to work playing in their games, and when the arcade closes, they all hang out in the video game world with other arcade game characters. It's very fun, it's very nostalgic, and it's very funny with its voice cast. As for the story about Wreck-It Ralph wanting to be good instead of bad, he encounters a glitchy character in another game, and other characters from other games go out to find them. The end is a little cheesy, but that cheesiness, you know, it doesn't take away at all from the great time I had watching this movie and how much it made me think more about games and the movie when I left the theater. I think when a movie gets this creative and it has so much cleverness going on, for it to keep you thinking about it after you've left the theater is always a good thing. Number 4 on the list is Amor. Yes, this is the Austrian film directed by Michael Haneke, also written by him, and it challenges your way of thinking and interpreting love and relationships when you're older, and marriages. It's about an elderly couple who have lived together into their old age. The husband is experiencing personal problems of his own, but when the wife goes through much trauma and develops bad conditions in her brain, the husband finds himself having to take further care for her as they receive care from others. Their love for each other is put to the test, at this age for them. It's an amazing film because it doesn't scare you away from the story. Instead, it hooks you into the story. It makes you eager to find out how they're going to resolve their problems. Are they going to resolve their problems? And how the people around them are reacting to their behavior. This is a very serious film that, again, as I said in the beginning, it challenges your way of thinking, it challenges your way of interpreting love when you reach that age, and for that, lovely film. Number 3 on the list is the Wes Anderson film Moonrise Kingdom. Great ensemble cast, many of which are regulars in films by Wes Anderson. Bruce Willis gives what may be his best performance, but this movie isn't about the grown-ups as much as it is about the preteens and the teens in this film. The story is about a young boy and a young girl who love each other in the 1960s. She runs away from home. He runs away from his camp. They find each other and they find ways to live as best as they can while the parents, counselors, other kids from camp, and other adults struggle to find them. It's nostalgic as it makes you remember those times when you were that age, feeling like you could run away and have fun with someone you're attracted to. And the comedy is wonderful in this film. Now, Wes Anderson, I'm not a big fan of him, but I've seen films by him in the past that I've enjoyed. I love Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Fantastic Mr. Fox, first time I saw it, I thought it was okay. Then now I kind of like it. I think it's good. And Moonrise Kingdom I think it's wonderful. Number 2 on the list goes to Beasts of the Southern Wild. Now, in this film, a young kid and her father live in a rundown neighborhood that gets wrecked in a storm. She and her father go on a trip with the rest of the neighborhood, traveling by the water that came in through the storm. And they're all looking for a new town to live in as her father must find help for the conditions that he's going through. Outside of the story, the cinematography, the music, the direction, the atmosphere are amazing. The sights that you see in this film are terrific, And the story, the film, is carried incredibly well by a 9-year-old actress. I'm glad films like these exist. Like Moonrise Kingdom, Beasts of the Southern Wild, gets you nostalgic, gets you thinking about the times when you were that age, going on adventures, and this film is, it's an adventure. Now, before I get to the number one film, let me say that I made this decision only a week ago. For the past 3 months, I was contemplating over whether Beasts, Moonrise, Amour, Wreck-It Ralph, or Killer Joe should be number one, until I finally realized that on the inside, I love this film so much more than the others. It was a huge hit in the country that it was made in, and it was a huge hit worldwide, but in the US, critics were mixed on the film. Some strongly disliked it. For that reason, I neglected from praising this movie. But now I've finally come to my conclusion that I should forget what the critics are saying. After all, they loved The Hangover. That movie sucked. And I must say that in this year of feel-good movies, this is the movie that topped everything. No Academy Award nominations for this movie. It got a Golden Globe nomination, but no Oscar nomination for foreign language film or anything else for that matter. And I love this movie. Number one, The Intouchables, the French comedy drama about a rich paralyzed man who moves his hand to control his wheelchair. He must hire a new assistant to care for him in his daily life. After all, he has the money. When a man from the low class enters simply to get a signature, the rich man wants to hire him. The rich man gets what he wants, and we see how these two men go from little care to deep care for each other and become best friends. The audience is in for a special treat of humor, passion, and spirit. I adored every second of it, and I think it's the best film of the year. It's filled with great laughs, some great American pop culture references. Might be a bit too much for some people, but I didn't have a problem with it. I loved the film every second of the way. I adored it. And what beautiful shots too. The cinematography is amazing as well. Everything you see in this film is outstanding. And the performances are great from these two French actors. I heard someone say that there was a much better film that was released only in France. If that's the case, then I'd love to see that movie. But can we judge The Intouchables based on the sole movie that it is? And for what it is, it's a masterpiece. After all, I'm calling it the best film of the year, 2012. And that's the list. Check out these films if you haven't seen them. And as always, look positively into your future.